Hi, and welcome to this episode of John's Model Kit Review. Today I'll be looking at Accurate Miniatures 1/48 scale A-36 Apache. It is kit number 3401. The price on this kit varies widely, but the kit is still available on eBay and other online sources. Academy has also re-released this kit with different decals. Aftermarket parts used in this build were Eduard's pre-painted photoetch metal seatbelts and Eduard canopy mask. Both were easy to use and I highly recommend them. A-36 history. From the kit instructions. The U.S. Army Air Force had become very interested in developing a dive bomber from the basic P-51 airframe, and the result was the A-36. The plane is still referred to as the Apache, but the name was never officially sanctioned. The A-36 was fitted with bomb racks to carry two 500-pound bombs and extendable dive brakes on the top and bottom of the wings. These dive brakes proved to be a problem and disturbed the balance of the aircraft when deployed. In field service, the dive brakes were not often used, and in many cases were actually wired shut to prevent accidental use. As a sidebar here, though the dive brakes were initially problematic, they were used operationally once modifications were made to the hydraulic actuators. It was found that a nearly vertical bomb run with the dive brakes extended delivered the most accurate bombing results. Back to the kit instructions. The A-36 was produced in larger numbers than any other Allison-engined Mustangs, about 500 airplanes. They served primarily in the Mediterranean and China, Burma, India theaters as bombers and reconnaissance aircraft. Only one A-36 is known to survive and may be found at the U.S. Air Force Museum. The markings for this A-36 kit represent an aircraft from the 27th Fighter Group flying in Italy in the spring of 1944. This particular airplane had compiled a considerable number of missions, 190 bomb runs. Just another quick sidebar. Like all Allison-engined Mustangs, the A-36 was a formidable fighter aircraft below 15,000 feet. It was significantly faster than the Spitfire V at lower altitudes and had even better flying characteristics than later Merlin-engine Mustangs due to the lower weight of the Allison V12. Although the A-36 was a dive bomber and never used purely as a fighter, there were several A-36 aces. The kit. When Accurate Miniatures released their early Mustang kits in the mid-1990s, they redefined state-of-the-art in the model world. The surface detailing and accuracy are still impressive today. As of this writing, they remain the only Allison-engined Mustang kits available in 1/48 scale. The kit plastic parts have very nice raised and engraved detail where appropriate, optional tires, great parts fit overall, and good clear parts for a closed canopy only. Parts count is low without compromising detail. The decals are opaque with great color, but are a bit thick. There is one marking option. Construction. Instead of a comprehensive build log here, I will touch on what I did to make the kit more accurate and problem areas to watch out for. Before starting assembly, I made a few modifications to the kit for greater accuracy. First, I used thin plastic card to block off behind the dive brake openings after painting the interior of the dive brake recesses flat black. Second, I cut two pieces of clear sprue and glued them in the wing behind the landing light cover to represent the two landing lights present on the A-36. Finally, I drilled out the barrels of the 6 machine guns with a number 11 X-Acto blade. Further build notes for this kit apply to all the Accurate Miniatures and Academy early Mustangs. On the topic of wing guns, I highly recommend gluing these to the lower wing before gluing the top of the wings in place. Otherwise, you will lose at least one as you push them into place and they disappear into the wing forever. Trust me on this, I had to fabricate a new wing gun to replace the one rattling around in the wing. This is the second time this has happened to me while building an Accurate Miniatures P-51 variant. To keep myself from repeating this a third time, since I have one more Accurate Miniatures P-51A on the shelf, I opened that kit up and glued the wing guns directly to the lower wing. See picture. Don't forget to open the holes for the wing racks at this time if your version is so equipped. The rest of the assembly went smoothly, but I recommend taking extra care on the wing root fit and main landing gear. The landing gear fits loosely in its socket and moves all around until the glue sets fully. I left my main wheels free to turn on the axles so that I could position the flat spot properly once the gear legs dried. Colors and markings. Polyscale, olive drab, and neutral gray were sprayed with my Badger Anthem dual-stage airbrush. The weathering on the aircraft was done by pre-shading the paint, post-shading the paint, applying pastels with a closely cropped paintbrush, airbrushing layers of very thin gray paint mixed with satin clear for one layer of the exhaust stains, chipping done with a silver Prismacolor colored pencil, washes, etc. I did a good deal of weathering prior to sealing everything with an airbrushed coat of Future in preparation for decals. I used the kit-supplied markings for an aircraft from the 27th Fighter Group flying in Italy in the spring of 1944. The kit decals were a bit thick and required lots of setting solution to conform to the engraved detail. It took patience and time to get the yellow wing stripes to conform to the wing detail. Once they had started to set up, I cut the openings of the dive brakes with a razor blade. It took many further applications of microsol to settle the decals into place. Capturing the weathering in photos was a bit difficult. The contrast of the yellow wing bands and white fuselage markings with olive drab reduces the tonal variation visible in the olive drab. With that said, I could have gone even further with the weathering than I did, since the final satin clear coat I applied toned down the weathering more than I wanted. Conclusions. Overall, this is still a great kit that can be turned out well. The surface detail holds up well to today's standards. There are a few tricky areas to be careful of, namely the wing root fit, the main landing gear angle, and the wing guns. The decals also require patience and lots of setting solution. However, if you take your time and get these right, you will be rewarded with a great model. Accurate Miniatures A-36 and P-51A kits are still the only game in town for Allison-powered P-51s in 1/48 scale. I recommend them for modelers with some experience.